Benefits under continuation coverage. If you elect continuation coverage, the coverage you are given must be identical to the coverage that is currently available under the plan to similarly situated active employees and their families. Generally, this is the same coverage that you had immediately before the qualifying event. You will also be entitled, while receiving continuation coverage, to the same benefits, choices, and services that a similarly situated participant or beneficiary is currently receiving under the plan, such as the right during an open enrollment season to choose among available coverage options. You will also be subject to the same rules and limits that would apply to a similarly situated participant or beneficiary, such as co-payment requirements, deductibles, and coverage limits. The plan's rules for filing benefit claims and appealing any claims denials also apply. Any changes made to the plan's terms that apply to similarly situated active employees and their families will also apply to qualified beneficiaries receiving Cobra continuation coverage, if a child is born to or adopted by a covered employee. During a period of continuation coverage, the child is automatically considered to be a qualified beneficiary receiving continuation coverage. You should consult your plan for the rules that apply for adding your child to continuation coverage. Under those circumstances, duration of continuation coverage, maximum periods. Cobra requires that continuation coverage extend from the date of the qualifying event for a limited period of time of 18 or 36 months. The length of time for which continuation coverage must be made available, the maximum period of continuation coverage, depends on the type of qualifying event that gave rise to the Cobra rights. A plan, however, may provide longer periods of coverage beyond the maximum period required by law. When the qualifying event is the covered employee's termination of employment or reduction in hours of employment, qualified beneficiaries are entitled to 18 months of continuation coverage. When the qualifying event is the end of employment or reduction of the employee's hours, and the employee became entitled to Medicare less than 18 months before the qualifying event, Cobra coverage for the employee's spouse and dependents can last until 36 months after the date the employee becomes entitled to Medicare. For example, if a covered employee becomes entitled to Medicare 8 months before the date his/her employment ends, termination of employment is the Cobra qualifying event. Cobra coverage for his/her spouse and children would last 28 months, 36 months minus 8 months. For all other qualifying events, qualified beneficiaries must be provided 36 months of continuation coverage. 11. Under Cobra, certain retirees and their family members who receive post-retirement health coverage from employers have special Cobra rights in the event that the employer is involved in bankruptcy proceedings begun on or after July 1, 1986. This booklet does not fully describe the Cobra rights of that group. Early termination. A group health plan may terminate continuation coverage earlier than the end of the maximum period for any of the following reasons. Premiums are not paid in full on a timely basis. The employer ceases to maintain any group health plan. A qualified beneficiary begins coverage under another group health plan after electing continuation coverage. A qualified beneficiary becomes entitled to Medicare benefits after electing continuation coverage, or a qualified beneficiary engages in conduct that would justify the plan in terminating coverage of a similarly situated participant or beneficiary not receiving continuation coverage, such as fraud. If continuation coverage is terminated early, the plan must provide the qualified beneficiary with an early termination notice. See Your Cobra Rights and Responsibilities earlier in this booklet. If you decide to terminate your Cobra coverage early, you generally won't be able to get a marketplace plan outside of the open enrollment period. See Alternatives to Cobra continuation coverage earlier in this booklet. Extension of an 18-month period of continuation coverage. If you are entitled to an 18-month maximum period of continuation coverage, you may become eligible for an extension of the maximum time period in two circumstances. The first is when a qualified beneficiary, either you or a family member, is disabled. The second is when a second qualifying event occurs. Disability. If any one of the qualified beneficiaries in your family is disabled and meets certain requirements, all of the qualified beneficiaries receiving continuation coverage due to a single qualifying event are entitled to an 11-month extension of the maximum period of continuation coverage.